Good evening, everyone. Hello. Welcome back to our chat for episode 4 of One Calls the Heart, season 13 already. Already. Oh, I got a whole bunch of people that said hello at one time. Hello, Kathy. It's like ice. I mean, you can't even open your door and step on anything because it's like a sheet of ice here. We have off of school tomorrow. Hi, Susan. Hello, Kathy. I saw I have friends from Ohio and we share pictures and it is snowy there. Hi, Karen and Kathy or Catherine and Barbara. Marie. Hello. Hello. Just saying hi. There is so much to cover. I've got to get started like right away. And I will, I'll miss things if there's topics that you wanted to talk about. There's just so many little things, little pieces in this amazing episode that um I'm going to miss some, and they might be something that is important to you. So if you put it in the chat, we'll talk about it. Give me a chance though to get through because there's quite a bit. And I do have visuals because that helps me. But this was a scene that had a lot. It had everybody at some capacity, except I think Molly. I don't remember seeing Molly in this episode, even if it was just for a few minutes. And some of those few minute scenes were very important. And some of them were just like, I've seen them several times. I'm like, brings a tear to my eye. I didn't really have any cringes, but I do have a beef to pick. So we'll get to that. All right. So I wanted to start off with hello. I see more people are here. I wanted to start off with let's start off with Lucas. He only had 2 scenes in this episode. And I had said this in last night's recap with just Lucas Bouchard. So if you've been here, this will be a repeat. This is the time for you to go to the bathroom and get something to drink. But if not, you haven't heard it. I was saying that even though we only saw him twice, each scene advanced his storyline. And that's for good writing. You want to make every minute count, right? Every second, actually, because some scenes are just like 58 seconds sometimes. So the first one was he apologized to Edie, and we get to see that friendship blossoming. And I think that it's being used as a tool, that friendship, to get us back to the original Lucas, where we get to see the integrity that he has, that he is quick to apologize when he makes a mistake. That's, the Lucas we've always known. He, of course, is not perfect because he's human. And if he was so perfect, nobody would love a character that's so perfect, right? And hi. And just, yes, there's no Henry. And I'll talk about that. That's on my notes right there. And I don't know, just I love that character. He's brings so much charisma and romance and soulfulness, which I love. It's one of my favorite words. And you could see that coming out. And the vehicle or the vessel or whatever you want to call that they're using, the tool is the building of that friendship between he and Edie. And then, of course, the second one was his announcement as governor. So we're going to get to see that struggle that he has because he's not wanting to be the typical politician. And that came out, which I love. And I can't wait to see where we get more of that and where that goes. Again, I had said this yesterday, that Edwin, they're writing him to cause a conflict for him. We saw it cause a conflict last week where he doesn't have the same priorities that Lucas wants, which causes, conflict. But I love the actor, but the character is, and I have a question for you. And I've asked this before, but what do you think about, wouldn't Henry be a better advisor to his campaign? Although Henry doesn't want to get into that. Don't you think he'd be better? You know, Edie and Lucas give the best eye expressions. They sure do. I showed that in my Lucas Bouchard last week, only because I didn't show it this time because there's just so much to discuss overall. Not last week, yesterday, last night. I showed their expressions. And I was even showing you how the physical, like when she says words to him, it kind of hurts him. His head goes back a little, like almost as if she slapped him with some truth about, I thought you were different, right? You're not your typical politicians. What they always say, oh, compromise, and I love that that changed. Yes, I think so. Right, working together, Henry and Lucas. I think he would be great for that. So we if we want it, we have to say it because people listen. They listen in. So it might be something like, oh, let's do it. Let's do it. You love this place, Judy? You love Hope Valley? You're falling in love with it? I believe the boys will be all cleared. Yes. Well, Susan, I'm not ready for that, but I hope you bring that up again and it doesn't get lost in the comments. So the other thing I wanted to point out that was, yes, there wasn't any Henry, by the way. Where is Henry? He's MIA, but again, he's spending his time with his son. Christopher is back, and I will tell you a teaser, a hint for next week, which I can, right? 'Cause it's Monday, and you can do that on Mondays. Well, it's not I think. Henry will be in the storyline on next Sunday, episode 5, as will Christopher. And you can tell that this storyline is going to get bigger as the season rolls on. So I'm looking forward to that, right? And by the way, did you notice he's the photographer now? He's no more of the remember he was trying to find his plate. Every time I rattle, like it makes noise. Sorry. He was trying to find his place with the hazelnuts. And remember, I thought they were chestnuts. Good Lord. So anyway, he's the photographer. We've been seeing him take lots of pictures. Hmm. Hmm. Think that's going to come up and I notice I'm always moving around. I have nervous energy. That's going to be part of the storyline. I don't know if you know this, which I thought I love this because Henry never really was into photography back in the day, right? But remember when he had that office and when the Sarah, she's this well, she's advanced now, but she was a set decorator and she decorated his room and his office, and she had put different cameras up there. And it actually wound up turning into working into something that Henry does now, which is kind of cool. All right, I want to see real quick, which I have to say before we move on. Arlene, Henry definitely would ground Lucas as a campaign manager. Edwin is all show, no heart or substance. I know, and he's getting on my nerves. You would rather see Lucas and Henry work together. Me too. I'm hoping something comes of it. Hi, Martha. How do they justify Lucas being in Hope Valley, being the governor? Yeah, I think he wasn't there all summer, right, Martha? That's what we noticed. That's what caused a little bit of tension between Edie and him. He had things to do, a lot of stuff to do. He had been away for months. So now we see him and he's there, I think. And you'll see more of that next week, and I'll talk to it at the end. He's there because of the tragedy that happened. He was there for the opening. He was going to be there for the opening of the national park when that turned into a tragedy. So now he's there trying to help out what's happening in the area, and that's closest for him. So I think that's why he's been there for a while. We'll probably see him go back, right? I don't know. It's fiction and there's really no governor in Canada. So I don't know what they're going to do with that, but that's a good question. And that's just my take on it. I don't know how everyone else feels like that. Yes, he is definitely causing conflict. Good. Henry would be fabulous as Lucas's advisor. He knows Lucas well and his strengths. He would put the most important issues out in front. Remember in the last season where he's like, I need you, Lee, and I need you, Henry. And he sort of has like his counsel. I'm hoping that if he runs again, he has sort of his counsel too. She'd be a good advisor. She doesn't mince words. Yes. I'm thinking Gwen's dad is going to have something to do with the fire. Yeah, well, I haven't gotten to that, but I will right now. Let's go talk about McGinty. We've got McGinty as a suspect, right? And that gets cleared up in this episode. We also have the boys, Cooper and Toby, who could possibly be, and they're taking it on like it is, the people or the cause of the fire. And then also, we have to remember that Nathan had said that they gathered some evidence and they sent the burn patterns out to be studied and looked at. And of course, it hasn't really come back yet. So, we've got, though, that's the focus, right? Now, we learn right away. Well, not right away, but at the end of this episode or the beginning to the end, that McGinty is not the person, right? Um, and I went to they have some wonderful scenes with that. I'm gonna put up my visuals, but I'm gonna move ahead to this. Close your eyes if you get dizzy. I love the scene where they call him in, Bill, and the music they play in the background and the facial expressions of Nathan and Bill, like Kevin and Jack Wagner hit this out of the park. It's one of my favorite scenes. I come back to it all the time, where he's like, excuse me, like about his cat and putting the cat in the can. And he looks at him, he's like, well, yeah, I'm inclined to believe you because no one would make up such a story. Like, who can make up such a story? I thought that scene was great. And I started to soften my heart towards McGinty and what was happening with him. And to me, I don't know, this was like a laugh out loud moment. And it was also him not being the person who caused the fire, catalyst for the storyline with everyone else. So this was such a community effort of an episode. They really tried, like, they had big groups of people, several scenes with big, like, it felt crowded because it's supposed to be crowded, like Hope Valley has swollen. And I don't know, I thought they did a good job of, like I said, making sure so many different um characters had time to talk, and even if it was just a short scene, it advanced the storyline or it touched your heart. That's what I wanted to share with that. But let's see, my late cat's name was Mittens, so the part when he talks about the cat gave me all the feels. I know, yes, I know. I hear you. Rumors and blame when a full investigation has not been done. Yes. And they talk about that. They address that. Even the kids are whispering, and she and Elizabeth hears it. So we're going to talk more about that too. But you are correct. And I kept saying they act like it's so matter of fact, but those boys, the possibility of it and their kids, it's so weighing on their heart so heavy that they feel guilty. But they're there's more to that storyline. All right. It will end up being the electric company, in my opinion. Hi, Brian. Perhaps, okay. Perhaps Henry caught something on film while taking the pictures of the Coulters. Oh, maybe. Yeah, yeah. Yes, and I think Lucas could be on the ground in the Hope Valley and Benson Hills area. His constituents need help. Yep, that's what he was saying. Oh, and they got rest in peace, Mr. Mittens. I thought that that was so cool that it wasn't that he was burying like a dog, right? Because that's kind of like the obvious when you are a cattle owner. You usually have a dog out there and whatnot, but it was a cat because a cat tends to be a more gentler type of an animal. It's not your typical rough and tumble guys type of pet. And for him, it was, even though it was kind of like a tough cat, right? Um, I don't know, it softened his character. It made you feel something for him. And what about that ending when they bring the cat as a peace offering to him? Look at him. Look at that. My God. Some people were upset because they were like, there's a ribbon about for real in real life around that cat's neck. But if you look closely, it's actually a collar with Velcro and a bow on the side of it. So it's okay. And I thought that this just, I don't know. And then you hear Elizabeth talking about when there is like tragedy and how you lean on your community, and then we roll into this and we see Lee and what Lee had to go through to get to that moment. It was good. It was true, like, back in the day type of story writing, which I enjoy. I don't know how you all feel about that. McGinty didn't need to go to the Emerald City to get a heart, just bury a cat. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Nikki, wouldn't they be able to go back to where the boys made their fire and determine if it was the right area? It is. It is the same origin. That's the whole thing. But they're not done with the whole pattern of what could have caused it. If so, but that's to come. Yeah. Yes. All right. So I'm going to take that away and I'm going to move to um this. Okay. I thought that this scene, first of all, the boys are doing a great job, a fantastic job with the guilt that they feel, and they're young actors, and I love how they're bringing it. I also love how they have Elizabeth. This is the Elizabeth that we know. She's involved in her students' lives, and we have that back again. We see a classroom again filled with kids. We see her in the midst of, standing up for those children, even in her quiet conversations that she's having, and then before the whole community. I'm going to show that in a minute. But the kids are doing a great job. And I love this scene. I love the look. Like, she almost feels defeated when they say, but yeah, like, I wish we didn't even start the fire. Wish we never gone. She feels that defeat for them because she's like, she loves the kids. And this I'm going to talk a little bit more since I'm here. This is her look when that she looks a little devilish there. Listen, I forgot I had two beefs. Could we get a different wig for her? Please fix the wig, get a different one, please. And did you notice her color and Allie's color are very similar now with that wig? But I need her to have a different wig. Please, please, please. Such a beautiful woman. I would almost wish they let her have her own curly hair, but they did when she first came to Hope Valley. But, now it's more straight. But anyway, I'm going crazy over this. The look, like, she was getting upset and she stood up and she addressed the whole community. And what she said made me think of this. Especially in today's age, it's like a message for all of us. We're so wanting to find somebody to blame. And that's what kind of Lee says. We want to find someone to blame. We're so upset. And she says, what if it was just a mistake? What if it is those boys and it was just a mistake? Are we going to not help each other out? Are we going to say you must pay? That kind of thing. And it made people take a step for a moment and step back. And I thought, what a fantastic message. And then this is the part where this is something funny, but let me go to this. This is at the end when they're walking down at the end of the episode, and they're so happy that the community came together because this was her goal all along, right? For so many episodes. And they're saying what a great group of kids. And Nathan says to her, a lot of that has to do with you. Yes, of course, we know parents raise you up. We get that. But you also have a teacher who spends a lot of time with kids. They've got them all day. I know this. And you can be of a great influence on them. That's why you have to be careful what you bring to the classroom. And in their case, she's with them all day for year after year after year. So she's important to them. And he says to her, it's you. It's because of you. And she has that look on her face. And Erin has always been good with her expressions, but I wasn't liking the Erin. I wasn't liking the Elizabeth that they were creating, but she's more like the Elizabeth that I like and love. And I thought that for those of you who are loving Nathan and Elizabeth as a couple, I thought that if they were going to kiss, this would have been a great time for them to kiss, because they turn into each other and he says, that's all on you. It's because of you. And she's sort of a little shy about accepting that praise. And she goes, it was a team effort. And he says, I like being on your team. Even just if it was just like a kiss. Rosemary and Leah are always kissing. That would have been nice here to see a kiss. I thought that would have been appropriate. And I don't know. We did get to see them hold hands. I forgot to take a picture of that earlier on when they were talking about, what would you do with our kids? And she looks like our kids. She got that look on her face. And of course, Nathan and LJ, but the thought of our kids. And I'm sure those that are waiting for this blended family to become a family on paper, right? They were loving this. And then they have such beautiful shots. Like last time it was them with the field behind, but when they're walking away, they're holding hands and they zero in on that, which is nice. Like I'm liking how that they're they're like a couple that's already married, but they're not. And this if this is what you're craving, sorry, they're giving it to you, but they missed the opportunity for a kiss here, in my opinion. This was funny. Nathan being Nathan, just like earlier when he was making the faces and, like, oh, well, when he was listening to what McGinty had to say, excuse me, I have to cough and I have to make this muted it, and I don't even know how. I don't know if that worked or not. I apologize. But after poor Allie sets up the whole party and everything looks wonderful, he's like, "Oh, Benson Hills is not here," and she makes that face and she smacks him. So Aaron had a lot of different facial expressions for Elizabeth in this episode. I thought that was funny. Okay, I'm going to remove it just for a minute, and I want to see what we all have to say. Yes, Cooper, poor Cooper, he wanted to run away. That was another beautiful moment. Let's see, here it is. Okay. Carrie, that was another beautiful moment, short but beautiful, between mother and son. And she's like, "Oh my goodness, you know what I mean? I can't lose you. It doesn't matter that you made a mistake. The intent was not to burn down, the forest." They were excited to go exploring, and she's like, "You are seen, you are loved, you are not. Do not think that you could just walk away." It was a great scene between the two of them. And even to see the struggle of the parents, they're worried, and how are we going to pay for this financially if we're hit with that? The look in her just trying to make her jellies, and I don't know, came to a beautiful scene with Joseph and Joseph and Lee that I loved. I'll get to that. I want to see what you all have to say because I've been yammering for a long time. Let's see what's here. I love that they don't kiss that much. I don't I don't know why. I want them, but they should kiss. Like there's times where they should. Before it was like they kissed a lot and everybody was "Nah, nah, nah, nah," about that. And I get that, okay. But there are times where now I think they're swinging the other way. I think they should kiss it. I'm not saying they have to have some big passionate kiss, but that scene there that deserved a little kiss. It did. It deserved a kiss. I say so. um let's see. Avis, E and I have no spark. I think it's because they are so close friends off screen. Okay. Um, are the drawing a comparison to that Lucas fans blame Elizabeth for what has been described as a mistake people can make? No, I don't think that's any kind of message there at all. I think it's about community, and there's nothing about Elizabeth and Lucas, I think, in that. Save Nathan because he couldn't think of anything to say when his daughter was he couldn't think of anything to say when his daughter was mentioned. Mr. Impeccable couldn't speak for himself. In that scene, I'm not going to tarnish a scene that was actually funny, and it was appropriate because that's him. He speaks sometimes before, like he's like making a comment, and then especially with his daughter, and that's where she hits him in the stomach, and he's like, "Oh, you did a good job, kiddo," because she did, and it was true. Nobody was there yet from Benson Hills, but you'll see. This is a teaser that I wanted to say for the end. You will see Nathan make some big mistakes in episode 5. But don't forget, everybody in this series makes mistakes. It doesn't mean that it lingers. It shows growth. Just like when Lucas made his mistake in episode 3, he, owns it, and it's a growth for the character. And the same with Nathan's mistake in episode 5. It's a growth for a character. It actually turns out to be something it's kind of touching, and I love how he owns it. So be on the lookout for that. Let's see. He did. You did. You did. You were right. So we didn't. He did. You did see him. We didn't see Molly at all, though. But he is at the very end because he is part of The construction company. Yes, yes, with Joseph. Um, okay. Yes. All right. So let's talk about Maisie. Maisie learning to trust and about boundaries. That was great. That was another great thing. I just wanted to see. Um, Before I move on, I talked about her speech, Elizabeth's speech to the community, right? And I want to make sure I got all my little notes here. Okay. Let's talk about, oh, nope, wrong way. Close our eyes. I'm going to take that back about Maisie. This was this was great, okay? And how about when May and Mike find that their hats and their clothes and their things are being like given away, and they're like, "Oh my God, she doesn't know boundaries." And he's like, "It's best to pick your battles." She goes, "Well, then you have to pick it. You have to pick some. You can't ignore." Also, he has to do this for himself and his wife. He has the whole conversation. I love how true to her character. It's like she seems like she is a bully, and she kind of is, but she isn't, because she is so proud that he is standing up to her. So she stands up, she dusts the dirt off her hands, and she's like, "All right, well, let's negotiate. You know what I mean? What are your terms?" And he shares what he has to share. And that's when he also says you have to come to the birthday party. And she's like, "What young man wants me at their birthday party?" Explaining, if you go, it's going to help bring the communities together because we've got some strife going on. So he walks in and he says in the background, "May, I did it." I love it. I just love it. I love it, love it, love it. Yes, she does have some great one-liners. She does. Yeah, yeah. I loved Maisie's speech about mistakes at the party, especially the losing the baby when babysitting. And Elizabeth, yep, hips Allie because that happened, which is great. There's sort of like a callback to that. There were a few callbacks about that, about in this episode. So I mean, yes, 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 and yes, yes, yes. I liked it. Okay. I had talked about this. I'm not getting to that yet. McGinty, Nathan, hold your eyes. Okay. Let's talk about this. So I'm I know we're wondering if there's more to who Gwen's father is, right? But what if there isn't? What if it's just they needed a somehow to put a tool in, I want to call it, for Rosemary and Lee, and to advance whatever's going on in their storyline, because she makes them face things about themselves and each other, and challenges and them in different ways. So maybe she's just that. That's the reason why she's there. I don't know. Um, and I thought that this was hilarious when they came in with the dollhouse, and then she's got the sword and she puts it out. Look at Lee's face, and he's like, "Uh-huh." And she's like, "Oh." And at first Rosemary's like, "Woo." And then later on, Rosemary, when they're alone, turns it on him. He's like, "All right, all right." I'm wondering if I ever get the opportunity, I'm going to ask Pascal if she put that in or if that was in the storyline, because it was just so fun and natural, and I enjoyed it. But Lee had some in like moments. This conversation with Joseph, I wrote down like some of the stuff where I got to find it, where they're talking about forgiveness. And he says he wanted to so hold on to McGinty, being who was caused the fire, because I needed to have someone responsible for all that I lost. And that happens. That's what happens when people are in pain and they want somebody to pay. And he's like, Joseph's like, "But you were so easy. It's easy for you to forgive Cooper and Toby." He goes, "Yes." And he goes, "And I know I was wrong," but he doesn't think he can put forgiveness in his heart because McGinty had done other things. And he said, "Mercy means the most when it's the hardest to give." I was like, "Oh my God." That was like so good. And then when you come to that ending, when there he is, I'm going to, can I build you a house with a cabin? We'll use it as a model. And they bring him the cat. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is like such good stuff. Good, good, good stuff, right?" Oh, I want to hear what you're all saying before I get to one of my stuff that I really enjoyed. Okay. Big sister syndrome. Maisie cracks me up. Yes, yes, she does. Um, Elopement would save us all the unnecessary hype. Good idea. Let's buy them both a ticket. Um, is that, I guess that's a side conversation that you're having for the, I'm not sure. Is that supposed, is that for Elizabeth and Nathan? Oh, I don't think we'll have elopement. I think we'll have a wedding. There are too many fans that would be very, very upset about that. All right. Yes, she was so happy when she made the toys. Yep. Rosemary found some restraint and patience. Maybe those two are learning how to parent together. Hmm. There's a lot with that. I'm really enjoying her being there. Um, I don't know if anyone's okay. I thought I maybe missed something. Okay, so now we have this relationship with um, Allie and Oliver, this friendship that is blooming. And you know how I feel about the character of Oliver. I find him to be, I don't know, just like a gentle soul, a gentleman. And the actor, and I read to him when I had the opportunity. I had the opportunity to chat with both of them. It was myself and others. We get one a week. I already know who next week is. They just sent me the info, but they have such the actors, Jada and Jacob. They have a lot of respect for each other, and they're working on some scenes that are kind of big because there's more of an intimacy with them. It's just the two of them together. And I asked how they handled it. And they have a really cute response. I'm not going to tell you. I want you to go and watch it. But anyway, I love these are the gifts, piece of jewelry, and there's meaning behind it. And then the book. It's funny because that's Oliver. That's what I mean. He reminds me so much of Jack. That romantic the like he's a romance from that romance era. Like he was now, like, of all things, to want to learn like more about Allie. He's starting to read more, and a book of poetry of all things, and she gives it to him, and then he has that sweet piece of jewelry gift for her they kept all the time, and there's wonderful meaning behind it. And then the two of them, I didn't capture Jada's expression, but I was trying to figure out why that scene felt so almost like a little ooh to me, okay? Like a little ooh, it's close kind of thing. And I think what it was is how the two actors actually looked at each other in the eye. I missed this, and maybe if you go back, you'll pay attention to how Jada stares him very softly, looks up and stares right in the eye. Like they're this far away from each other, looking at each other, and the same with him. And it's such a little sweet, like innocent moment. And she talks more about with Nathan in the next episode what her feelings are for him. And it's not like they're in this big rush to be a couple, but you could see where it's growing and blossoming. But I do love Jacob. He's such a cute guy. How about how they're writing for him? He went and he left his party because he had to have his two friends with them there. He could not have them left out. And as a Mountie and knowing what's going on, and it's their job to love on the community and take care of them, that's what he made sure he did, and he brought them back, which was wonderful. And I love how they made him do it, because it was almost like, these are my friends. It's my birthday, and these are my friends. How about that trolling of the Mountie? And he had to put the hat on the head. That was cute. In the game, like pin the hat on the Mountie. You thought it was a little immature for an 18-year-old man? Maybe, but I think maybe that's the thing about I get from that about Allie when it comes to Oliver. Oliver still he's mature because he had to be mature, but there's an innocence that's lost and they can actually allow him to have that innocence. I get what you're saying, Arlene. And then there was the whole, like, I thought it was funny because it's a circus. That's how I was thinking of, like, chaos, but it came out cute. And then there is that whole part where Allie is still not 18 and where she is mature, but she isn't. So that's why she's got like this little like like awkwardness about her, and it's purposeful. Like that's how the character is being written to portray her character, because we talked about it in our interview. And there is a gap between them. You know, you're correct. And it's like he's there as the adult and she's not there. And maybe that's something they'll have to work out as time goes on. It kind of reminds me, I was a big fan of Little House on the Prairie. And when Manny, she calls him Manny Almanzo, right? She thought she makes a mistake. What his name is becomes his name, but he's much older than her. And how that relationship has to grow because there's age gap, a big age gap between them. And there's this awkwardness, and then her becoming like a young woman. I think that's kind of what this is. So to me, it's a storyline that's not in a rush, you know? And I'm just me. Loved the wolf pin, kind of reminded me of the what? Wolf Book and Oliver in the library. Oh, okay. Yes, yes, yes. That was actually from last season, right? I'll yes, Ollie. Allie and Oliver are becoming less and less awkward. Yep. And Jacob growing his own hair of glory, so to speak. You know what? I love that hair of glory. And when Jacob was in the interview with us, his hair was super short. Super, super short. And if it had been just me and we were having like, it's like a boom, boom, boom set of questions. I like to have conversations because I'm a yapper. But I would have asked him about his haircut. He looked handsome in his haircut. But you're right. What happened to your hair, Glory? I want to know if it was like for a TV show or something. Ooh, but I didn't ask any of that. I think there's too much of them and not enough of the other characters. Of these two, it would seem like that for, again, everybody's trying to get their time in, and it would seem like that for these few episodes, but in episode 5 that does not happen. And as other episodes come along, you'll see that certain characters dominate that day, that episode, more than others. It does seem like that for now, but there's more to come. They're truly falling for each other. Great acting, you two. Yes. Oliver and Allie's story. I see hints, bits of Jack and Elizabeth and Lucas and Elizabeth. Yes, because there is that, because not to say that Nathan, well, he isn't a romantic guy. I'm not saying he's oaf. I'm just saying that's just not his character. But Lucas and Jack were. They had that romantic side to them. And yes, and that's kind of like how he is. Get soulful, you know, sweet, like kind of, yeah. Yes. How do I forget that? See, I'm glad you brought that up. That was hilarious. Because, I left all the blue ties for you. And she's like, May's like, wait a minute, is that your tie, Mike? And he's like, well, she's like, yeah, I left that for you. All right, Nikki, what do you have to say? I feel like they're pushing the Oliver Allie relationship too hard. Allie needs to graduate and go off to college. Oliver needs someone else. Okay. I think that that's not happening. I think that they are a storyline that is a slow burn and for the long haul, because they are young. There are things to come. They hinted at that, but I don't know. I don't know about the pushing too hard. I feel like it's something that's growing. They're doing it for the younger generation, appealing to them instead of it always being an adult relationship. I know that's one of the things why they are. He's starting his career, but she's still in high school. Yes, Carrie. Yep. Friendships are important to Oliver. Also, his he found community, that wanting to belong, right? Finding a place to call home and wanting to belong, which is also something Allie's character had wanted because they moved around so much, and she said this is home. That was seasons ago. So again, they're bringing that up, using that in this character too, which is kind of a theme that they always have. All right, Catherine, are we going to see Oliver part of the investigation into how the fire started? He has attention to detail from what I see. The answer is yes. Why is Opal in the background now? She happened to be there, Martha. Um, we'll see her. We'll see her more, promise you. But she's there, right? We have her there. I'm curious about Oliver's mistakes he made in the past. Probably, dumb mistakes, I think. I'm just guessing because he was kind of on his own. All right, so we had that. Okay, I'm going to get to this. This scene here. This here's a beef that I have. They're talking about what's missing in her shepherd's pie. I would have laughed out loud if they said lard, because remember, Mrs. Thornton, Jack's mom, said lard, and she put a ton of lard in it, and lard and everything. But he's like, basil. What? Who wrote this? Okay, basil does not go in shepherd's pie. I make shepherd's pie all the time. We actually make real shepherd's pie because my mother's family is from Ireland. So I don't even call it really shepherd's pie anyway, but shepherd's pie does not have basil. And when did it get paprika in it? That's going to be my recipe for this week. So that's my beef. My beef is like no shepherd's pie. I mean, no basil and with the paprika. It's not a big beef. It's just something I thought was funny. Okay, so I'm going to leave this here for a minute and I'm going to bring it back because I know people were asking about it, and I've gotten to a question for you. I want to see who wins, but I want to see no one else. I hope if I missed your question and it was up here, can you type it back in while I put out my trivia? The winner of last week's trivia, I usually send it to you right away. I did not because I had so much stuff I had to do, especially with Amazon. I had this big order that I had to put in that had to do with school. Anyway, there are a whole bunch of excuses that I have, but I will be sending yours along with whoever wins tonight. So here's my question. McGinty gets a new cat, a kitten. And what is the name that Rosemary suggests for him? Whoever's my eyeballs land on first, I have something for you. And it's not a kitten. I won't be sending you a kitten. All right, so while that's all going on, if you had something you wanted to discuss that I missed, please let me know. And I'm going to talk to you about some teasers. So, we will see Henry. We will see Christopher next episode. We will see Henry have a which I think is going to lead to a big storyline, like I said, for this season. All right, let me look real quick. This is who my eyes laid on first. Joan, Dr. Socks. Yay, you got it, Joan. It is your job to contact me either through Facebook or my email and give me your information because not your social security number, your address, your mailing address where a package can come to you because it gets sent through Amazon. So give me a few days because we're in the Arctic freeze. We're in the part of that Arctic blast. And I will be sending you your gift, but first you have to contact me. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, just let me know. Okay. All right. So yes, Dr. Socks. The other, and if you have a question, I might be able to answer for the teaser. This photo here, people were wondering, I know it was released, like what's going on here, what's happening. So what's happening is, the governor had said with less than a year that the plan was to rebuild Benson Hills. And this is Lee is making a pitch for this. And it's before the committee. So, of course, the governor is on this committee with the mayor of Benson Hills. And the gentleman that you cannot see are two characters that we have not identified yet. They might just be, we're supposed to see that they're part of committee, either from, the governor from the territories, part of his team, or maybe people that have to do with what happens when it has to do with a large community governmental sort of subsidies kind of thing. That could be who the other two are. But you would notice the other person on the side is Christopher. Christopher is there representing the electric company. That's who is there. And that is what we will get to see in the next episode. I also want to tell you that I started off with who our suspects were, McGinty, but he's no longer a suspect. The two boys, and then that whole pattern, burning pattern, that will come up eventually. But there is a new suspect. You will see a new suspect for the, or possibility of a suspect for the storyline to come in the next episode. I also teased there's something great. There's this great scene that is, if you watch Friends, it's taken from the show Friends. To me, I don't know. I would have to talk to the writers and directors of see that was what inspired it. But holy cannoli, it's hilarious. And I think, people are going to enjoy it. The other teaser that I was going to share was, what is it? Oh, we get to see where two more characters live, because I know we're all fascinated with that. And the reason why we don't see some is because there would be no reason to have a storyline in their house. So they put the storylines of where we would see them, like Lucas always in his office or in the saloon, right? So that's why I guess we never got to see where he lived. Back then, maybe if it was when he was with Elizabeth, but definitely now we don't get to see that. But we get to see where two other characters live, which is interesting. And I think I covered it all. Yes, no, maybe. It's a lot. I feel like I'm talked a lot. Wow, I did it in 46 minutes. Okay. All right, Joanne, or Joan, you know what to do, right? All right. Does anyone have a question for me or a comment? Anyone want to tell me how I don't stand up enough for Lucas, or I am biased, or I'm doing a great job, or whatever? Because nobody, when I get done, I get all kinds of crazy comments. Anybody want to say something now so we can address it, or no? I'll tell you, our next guest that we get to chat with this week is Miranda, who is Edie. So I've chatted with her before. I haven't talked to her in about a year. So this will be fun to chat with her and talk with her about what's to come. And, that'll be cool. That's who's coming up next for our recorded part. And they usually give us like 24 hours. And that'll be up probably like on late Thursday or Friday, probably Friday. I'll hit the stream. Nobody's said anything. Cancel. Just seeing if I missed. No, I guess not. I know there's a delay. So I every time I'm ready to say goodbye, then all these cool things pop up. All right. While I'm waiting, I'm just going to do a quick little peruse here. Down and see. I think I've covered. Hi, Ro. Hi, Beverly. Hi, everyone. Edie and Lucas give the best eye expressions. They do. I think I said that already. Okay. Those are my questions. I don't think I missed anything. I remember Brian, he had said he thought that the electric company would have something to do with the fire. I remember saying that, but I hadn't gotten to where there is a little storyline brewing where we do get to see even another suspect. And what if, I don't know. I'm just thinking about what you have to say, Brian, about the electric company. And then they also are talking a lot about Gwen's dad. All right. I think I've got everything. All right. Well, we're going to say goodnight. I don't see anything new. Good night, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.